What's up, Aristo? How's it going, my man? Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Feel like they're slowly getting better. There's still a lot to learn, but doing all right. How was your weekend? What's up, everybody? Hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Once I get 1,000 likes on this video, I'll start talking. I get it, dude. I get it. I actually had I tried to stream. I think it was Saturday. I did it during my son's nap, and he usually naps for good 2 or 3 hours, and he got up in like 45 minutes. So, yeah, life and duty. I get. Trust me. Yeah, mine was good. Mine was really good. I finished the script for the Elden Lord video and started editing it over the weekend. And in doing so, oh man, I went down a rabbit hole, and found some really cool stuff. So I've been about a year ago when I started this process. I didn't know anything about Carl Jung or human psychology, really. I mean, I always had kind of this affinity to it because it just interested me. So I kind of gravitated towards it. But since then, I've bought and read about maybe eight or 10 books or so of kind of Jungian psychology and all this type of stuff. And I picked one up this morning, and it's called Anatomy of the Psyche, Alchemical Symbolism, and Psychotherapy. And it's by this guy named Edward Edinger, and he is a Jungian scholar, and he basically is able to put Jung's thoughts and stuff in more layman terms, and that's kind of how I can digest it. And I'm about 40 pages in, and my highlighter is almost out of out of ink already because it's just it's so good, and everything is just like is right in front of us. So, but while I was making that video and doing some edits and stuff and filming various things, I came across this motif that is on the Erd tree, right at the Elden Throne area, and I've always noticed it, and I could not make sense of it. Like, I think for sure it's about like maybe the different stages of the tree, or like what we're supposed to be doing, or blah 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 blah. But what it is, it's these different stages of life, and the process of the Philosopher's Stone, and the process of individuation, and all this type of stuff. Around the comments on Crunchy's video have been promoting this theory also. Hey, centered on one of your videos, Lorehort 2 or 3, someone messaged you in the video and you read one of my comments. Oh, what's up, dude? I remember that. How are you, Joshua? Have been promoting the theory also. Yeah. I hope you've been enjoying it. I don't know if you've been watching, but oh yeah. Oh, perfect. That's great. Good, good, good. Yeah, I've always said, probably a couple months ago I started saying like, you know, this theory is going to start to kind of take hold, I think, in the more um, prominent YouTube lore creators. I think it's like it's the river that is taking us all downstream. And there's so much like there's so many incongruities and complexities and like things that don't make sense until you lay this foundation over top of it, and then it becomes very clear. So, um, yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before. And I actually listened to Crunchy's video, and like he touches very briefly on it, and he almost kind of shrugs it off. And I know in his Discord too, he said that he has kind of an unhinged theory how America is everybody, but like I, I don't think it's as unhinged as he thinks it is. That seems to be the only real answer about what the hell is going on. Um, to me, the more unhinged thing is like when you don't apply that to it. It seems I make the connection between Godfrey, or sorry, Godric, and like and just taking this lore at face value, like you're grafting all these different things that don't make sense and trying to put them together and like without making it esoteric and like all this different stuff. But once you apply one thing to it, it's like it kind of all like settles into itself and stuff like that. I started talking about Elden Ring during our short course of therapy that I had last year. The clinician I was seeing was Jungian analyst, and we went quite deep with the symbolism. Wow, that is really cool. Really cool. Very interesting. I was drawn in by the absent mother symbolism, but we focused on parts of the narrative that we were building a loving alchemist through the union and balance of opposites. Wow, that's really insightful, man. Really insightful. Hmm. Um, so the purpose of today's video, this first part, I'm gonna just kind of barf out some things that I've been noticing, especially now that I'm diving into the editing process of a video and really trying to make sense of what's going on and the different things that I'm finding and the way they tie into the themes that we've been uncovering and things like that. But in our previous videos, we started to just touch upon the four stages of life as proposed by Jung. That being kind of the infancy, child stage, and then the more adolescent, puberty stage, kind of from adolescence to kind of uh, early adulthood, mid adulthood, like 35, 40. And then there's kind of the midlife, and then there's your more old age type of thing. And furthermore, he breaks that. So there's four kind of quarters in the game of life, but he also breaks that. Yo, Jake, what's up, man? You did make it. Let's go. But within that, he breaks it into two halves. The first half is all about, so the first half being from the time you're born to the time you're 35 or 40, is all about growing this healthy ego that provides you protection and kind of provides you. Um, Here, I can just read it. I don't need to. Okay, so there's two halves of lives. The first half is spent building our sense of identity, importance, and security. What I would call the false self, and Freud might call the ego self. Jung emphasizes the importance and value of a healthy ego structure, but inevitably you discover, often through failure or significant loss, that your conscious self is not all of you, but only the acceptable you. You will find your real purpose and identity at a much deeper level than the positive image you present to the world. So, this first half of life, as I was saying, is just all about building this massive ego and this sense of who you think you are, because it provides a buffer between your real self, which is very scary, right? Because it's repressed and it's the things you don't want to admit about yourself, and it's much darker, and the outer world, right? So it's this protective state, almost like the ego almost becomes like the parents, right, of your psyche, where things can't harm you because you're just kind of ignoring them, and you're not shining a light on the dark areas of your life. And then undoubtedly, and the midlife crisis is kind of the brand that people put on this. Something happens in your life around that time, whether it's your parents are getting older and they pass, and this protection of umbrella is no longer there, or perhaps it's even more traumatic where you got diagnosed with a serious illness or whatever that is, and you realize just how fragile this ego self is, and it can't protect you because you haven't gone through something for it to push against, to build its strength. And out of that, right, the second half of life is all about this inward turn, and where we kind of dissolve our ego down and to a point where we can reintegrate it into ourselves and then build it back up. And it's this new, once we get through that, it's this new way of life. It's a much more stable way of life. It's much more, wisdom oriented, and all this different type of stuff that, whether it's for yourself and you're doing it because you want to improve your life, or you're doing it for the posterity of maybe your children or future generations, and the people that are yet to come. But when we read that, right, and then I was going through, I haven't thought about this image, this motif, in a very, very long time. But I saw it during my editing process, and I was like, holy shit. And it's something that I'm guessing captivates the player without them even realizing what they're seeing. And basically what it is we are seeing the the crucible, the one great, the unconsciousness, the unknown, and from that comes the Elden Ring, right, which is the consciousness, the aspects of our psyche, and from that is this giant tree, which makes sense, right? This is what we see in game. And then above that giant tree, there is this tiny little itty bitty tree. And then out of that, there's this explosion of energy, of life, of a new thing. and it came out of this smaller thing, but it really came out of the very beginning, right? Like this sword, like in what I've always said is Melena's rune, the sword like structure that goes through it all, um, is the self, is our one true authentic purpose. It's our fate. It's our destiny. It's who we are meant to be. It's our authentic self. And for that to be here so openly, um, I thought was just it really kind of it just kind of shook me, and I thought it deserved its own, second in the light before, hopefully I make a video. I mean, for sure, when I make my timeline video or individuation video, this will be right. Like this is it. This is the whole process, right? Um, so I thought it was really really apt. And the other thing about these two halves of life, with the first half being about building your ego, right, and not really having to go through much trauma or hardships for the average person, that is, like a significant loss or something like that. Now there are definitely exceptions, and those people seem to be they're very wise and mature for their age, and they've kind of gone through this process at a much earlier point in their life. But the second stage is where you start this process of individuation, where you find this inner gold within yourself, the philosopher's stone. You become your authentic self. And um, I've kind of said that the death of Godwin being analogous to ego death, is its purpose is to, you can see that it's killing the Erd tree, right? Like that is kind of its purpose. Deathroot is killing the Erd tree slowly but surely. It is the Negredo, it is the Dark Night of the Soul, it is all of these different things that the trigger for individuation, or kind of the stepping off point, is you kill an aspect of yourself, and you start this inward journey. And what we're seeing here with the small tree is the effects of ego death. It is bringing it back down to this, instead of stages, what if it's the macrocosm to the microcosm? I think, if I understand you right, I think we're saying the same thing. So, like, um, I think that what we're seeing playing in the game is kind of the macrocosm, right? It's We're seeing what is happening inside America's microcosm play out, and in a big scale. And yeah, that's this motif certainly describes that process. I think is what you're saying. I believe this is also hit in the game as well. Yeah, there's tons and tons of these motifs, throughout the game. Like, here, we can go to one right now. Um, oh, Jesus. um, where am I going? Oh, actually, can get there better from this way. Sorry. Sorry. Hopefully you can see it from here. So this motif is saying it's saying the same thing, right? And hopefully you guys can see that. Do we know what the chevron represents below tree and above Elden Ring? 1 second. So we're seeing this motif explained in a different way. I think that the Elden Ring is the fire of the gods turned into a human symbol. The fire of the gods is represented as lightning hitting the tree and setting it on fire. Interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that before. So the motif that we're seeing here is the same thing, but in a more, almost in a more like psychological, alchemical, esoteric way, where at the bottom, and I think you guys can see this hopefully, is a woman who, well, really you can't see it in this one, but at the bottom is, it's almost like this little flower, this little plant, and then encapsulated is this woman inside of it. And then directly above her, it seems that her head or her hair is kind of exploding outward. And then directly above that is a bird, and I would say it's representative of the phoenix. And then from that is like this nether kind of, I don't really know how to explain them, but almost like this godlike creature man thing. And again, it's I think it's just telling the story of, you know, the story of rebirth, the story of you die and you come back stronger as something bigger and better, all these different things. Transferred through the tree to the symbol. In the capital, kind of looks like the... I'm not gonna lie, Joshua, I have no idea what the cartouche... I don't know what that means. I don't know what cartouche means, dude. It could be Millennium, the god of rot. It definitely could be. Which for me means the dawn of consciousness within humanity, corroborating the idea that the game is about awakening of the consciousness. Yep. Dude, you're fine. This is what my streams are all about. I like it. I like a lot of engagement, so keep it coming. Yo, Kim! You made it! The big wall drawing in the base of the tree. Oh. Okay. Above the carving of the head or face looks like the symbol for heaven, hell, and Middle Earth, or the three crosses. Sorry, my question was between the tree and the ring at the door. Okay. I think you're talking about that, right? It almost looks like a sword hilt. Is that what you're referring to, Aristo? Yes, I find it different from the rest of the. Yeah, yeah. Um, Before I answer your question, Aristo, make sure everybody's hitting that like button. Okay, you got to keep doing your job, dude. I'm not just gonna do this for free. Okay. Actually, it's really interesting that you bring that up because I believe that this the sword motif is, like I've said before, the rune of Melina, the rune of the self, and the self is our inner god. It is all the it's all the concepts of our psyche integrated back into another, who who live um, who live in unity, right? It's it's not one thing overpowering. Yeah, mind, body, spirit, the ego, the shadow, and the self. All of these things are, yep, all analogous to each other. Um, but what's unique here is that there's actually four and not three. And maybe you guys, I know that my sometimes my streams just turn to shit. Yeah, you can't even barely see it. I don't know why. Um, Gosh, I don't know why YouTube, like, it streams so shitty. But anyways, there's actually four. So like what we discovered, on the bridges to the academy, where there's four. Yeah. Um, and I think what this is particularly saying is that out of this unity of mind body, spirit, of um, the ego, the self, and the shadow, it seems that the ego is starting to overtake, or it's starting to push out the other things. But going back to the sword specifically, is the center is the created or the fourth dimension in which we live as three dimensional. What? The sword seems to be the the thing that holds it all together. Um, it seems to also represent kind of our one way path, basically from ourselves back to ourselves. Um, and in the book that I was reading this morning, it says that the sword belongs to the symbolism of the Sepriacho, or however you say that, and Mortificatio. Um, the flaming sword symbolizes the trials with which God overwhelms man, that he may be restored to the way of goodness. So I think that kind of tells us exactly what the sword is supposed to mean. It is this the trials that we go through as individuals that take us from our whole unique authentic self, aka the God within us, through life and eventually back to our authentic selves, aka the God within us. Um, this is why I believe that. Oh, and another thing is that these symbols, the flowers of life, um, they mean oneness, unity, wholeness, and they are peppered throughout like major areas of the game. George R. R. Martin is obsessed with trees and shooting stars. I think that the game is so much more Miyazaki than George. Yeah, has referenced symbolism. Song about Fire. George R. R. Martin is really into alchemy. Also, yeah. Yeah, it's it's pretty crazy that I mean, there's a reason that they hooked up and did this together, right? Um, but I agree. I think it definitely seems more Miyazaki. Like Miyazaki, I think just straight out said like, George basically just did like the backstory of different houses and all this type of stuff, but Miyazaki really was the brains behind the story. Um, but so it seems that the sword is that the driving force within us. It's the trials that we go through. It is kind of the path we walk to get us back into that godlike, authentic self, our inner gold. Um, which is why I believe that Melina, the totality of Melina, the self, was the god that fled from Farum Azula, because at that moment that the meteorite hit, it seems to be the dawn of consciousness, and out of consciousness comes fractures, and once the self fractures, right, like it's gone from our purview, and it's receded back into this kind of like this abyss like um, this abyss like unconsciousness that basically the rest of our lives it's about getting back to that self. So hope that helps, Aristo. I mean, that's how I'm taking it, but could be wrong. Um, so that's kind of for this particular thing. That's kind of all I wanted to say. Yeah, yeah, exactly. God, Kim, you do such a better job of. I wish like maybe I'll send you my script for my video and just let you rewrite it because you're so you're so much better at wording than I am. Like I can think a really good thought, but by the time it gets to my mouth, it just crumbles. Um, so kind of along these lines and along this, you know, uh, psychological alchemical symbolism. Um, the final stage of alchemy is the uh, this red stage, the rebuto, or however you say it, um, which would seem that Marika has completed her journey of individuation and of you know the lapis and magnum opus and things like that. What I find really interesting and that I'm having a hard time kind of putting uh, into the story for it to make sense is that like she doesn't seem to be hey, hey what a stud, um, is that she doesn't seem to be done, um, if that makes sense. Like I wonder if and if the future DLC, because from what the leaks sound like is that it's going to be two DLCs in one. Um, is that I wonder if we go through this process again and we go through this whole thing again for America, and at that point she's finally all the way through. Um, and the only reason I say that is because Mikola seems to be the final. Mikola seems to be the outcome of. Um, of this process. I think Mikola is Marika 2.0, and I think the Haligtree is her consciousness 2.0 after this process. But we know that Moog stops this from happening. So it seems like she's not done. And so another thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Yes, exactly. The story is about healing oneself. Yes. And the hardships and tribulations that come with that, 100% for sure. Which is why I often say that Marika, somewhere in the middle of her life, which I think is represented by Renala, had Renala is kind of the personification of this deep wound. She's grief and depression and anxiety and all this type of stuff. Peace to the endings. Don't you think Mikola's story will only lead to more tragedy? Well, so, I mean, in a gameplay sense, for sure. And it could be that this process happens over and over and over again, right? Like, we're never really truly done with this process. We're always kind of under this psychological growth. And there's a item description that says basically stand before the Elden Ring, become the Elden Lord, and repeat. But from a spiritual, psychological, alchemical sense, Mikola represents the end goal, right? Like, he is the god Hermes. He is our spiritual guide. He is the foresage of the Animus. He is like all of these things that you go on this journey to get to is him. I forget which item it is. It's one of the ones you get like super early. Man, I don't remember which one it is, but you get it within like the first couple minutes of the game, I think. Right here. It's merely a cycle. Stand before the Elden Ring, become the Elden Lord. So it's a memory of grace. Yep. So this process of healing, right, and for Marika to be on this process, for Mikola to be the end goal, seems appropriate. Would he be the child after the camel, the lion, the dragon? And I need more with that one, Aristo. Cycle of life repeated by a tarnished, or the cycle of Elden Lords in order? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's implying the cycle of Elden Lords and kind of the New World Order, but it's hard to say. So this, if we accept that Marika underwent some significant loss in her life, and it seems to be all evidence seems to be pointing towards a loss of a child before that child came to life, really. And then we see that Renala is the personification of that, and underneath of her is the Lake of Rot. And at which time, sorry, my dogs are freaking out. At which time, um, Mikola and Melania are born, and one is obsessed with healing Melania, and the other is obsessed with protecting Mikola, and one is literally rotting from the inside out, and one is trying to start this new way of life that is much more welcoming to everybody. Um, yeah, Jake. Actually, I think Mishroom from or 2 days ago, the history or the stream on that, he commented, and I think we have a good idea of actually what those are. But I'm gonna quickly. I want to finish this point. So, to me, those two quote unquote children represent Marika's current state and the state that she is transforming into. So, in other words, Melania and this rot is if Marika does not get through this all the way through this process of individuation and basically succumbs to this grief and this depression and fully embraces it. And then Mikola would be if she gets through it, right, and she is able to go through this process and start this new way of life. Their relationship to me makes much more sense in that way than like, and again, you guys probably won't be able to see this, but we see that they're wearing the same crown, right? It seems to just be a smaller version of the same person, and this inner turmoil that is rotting Marika is noticed by her loss of limbs and all this different type of stuff. Let's see. Do you think Marika's children represent experiments on a theme, with Mikola being the end goal? Could be interpreted that they are fragmentations of her spiritual self, repressed or removed. Yeah. So Joshua, I think like what we're seeing from her demigod children are different complexes of her psyche. I said this in a earlier stream, but like the other day, I embodied 4 different complexes within a 24-hour period. I led a budget meeting at work, and then I went to the gym, and then I was at home not trying to impress anybody, and then I went to a holiday party. All 4 of those were each unique individual characters within my quote-unquote self. And I'm able to tap into them when needed, right? They're all aspects of my personality. And I think that what we're seeing those complexes, those personas, those traits of our psyche, and being personified by the quote-unquote children of Marika. Like, they're her direct offspring, just like my complex of who I am when I'm leading a meeting is it's like a child to me. It comes from me, right? Like, it doesn't come from anybody else. It is an aspect of who I am.
Symbolic giants. So Godwin, Moga, Morgott being first set, Melania and Mikola being another. Yeah. So this is still something that I'm trying to get a better understanding of is so the three. Let's just take the first three for instance. So Godwin, Moog, and Morgott. To me, they represent the three aspects of our personalities that first come to life, which is the ego, the shadow, and the self. And remember, this is once Marika has separated from herself. So like this is Marika, the ego as an individual person, which is it makes it really hard to kind of grasp. So it's either that those three represent the first three things within somebody's psyche, right? And you see this play over and over as so Godwin being the golden child who everybody loves and who is what Marika wants to express to the world. And then on the flip side of that, you get this very dark, devilish creature who is literally chained to the ground, never to see the light of day, and who has like the omen, you know, parts to him and all this different shit. Where it's like those two are polar opposites. It's the duality of the ego and the shadow. And then somewhere in the middle lies Morgott, who is like he holds within him aspects of both, right? Like he holds on for dear life to the Erdtree and to the Order, but by the end, when he's fighting and he goes into a second stage, he embraces this side of him and lets loose his more darker side, right? With the Omen blood and all this type of stuff. And then you see this play out again with Ronnie, Radon, and Rykard, where Radon seems to very much be the ego, right? Like he is trying desperately to keep things the way they are. He's the most powerful one. He's gigantic. He is kind of the embodiment of the law of regression where, you know, he uses gravity magic, which pulls things towards him. Oh, just got a subscriber. Hell yeah. And he is... What's unique about his boss fight is that it's a collective journey. It's a collective battle of the unconscious. Like all of those different characters. We have a wolf-like creature. We have a jar who is made of people. We have us who comes from the unconscious as the animus. Like all of these different aspects of the unconscious are together taking down the ego, aka Radon. And after that, the process of this inward look, right, this gigantic gash literally in the lands between, can start. But until this, it's the same story being played out again. Like Godwin dying and ego death is the same thing as Radon dying and ego death and being the catalyst and the step off point from this spiritual journey. So, and that's all I gotta say about that. Sorry, I kind of went down a rabbit hole there, but okay, let's see here. Do you think they are symbolic giants like those? So, here I'm just gonna read you because it's worth going back to this because I think it tells a story. Okay, so like the stages of life that we were talking about, and I'll just pull it up here. So, what you're seeing on screen is I brought it up last time, but it's the four stages of Carl Jung broken down by a Jungian scholar, and kind of bite-sized pieces. So, and what do we know about Marika and kind of her first act as quote unquote queen is that she takes down the giants, but she can't really kill them, right? Like, so she just kind of enslaves them. So part of this first stage of life is us trying to differentiate ourselves and separate ourselves from our parents. We are trying to be an individual person and not really underneath the shadow of our parents. And I think that this is what we see playing out with the quote unquote giants, is that these giants represent the parents. And we can't really kill them, right? Like, it's very bad. But, and then the world is almost built from them, right? Like our psyche is almost a transfer of our parents' psyche, right? Like the influences that they have, especially at a young age, and the way that we develop plays a gigantic role, which is why I think we see giants literally embedded in the bedrock of the lands between. So, let me see here. So the parents act as the ego for the baby, just because the baby doesn't have an ego yet. Since the interaction of the baby is limited, their awareness can be described as sporadic. It is unable to form chronological memories. This explains why, in general, people find it hard to remember or difficult to remember events that happened when they were infants. Jung refers to this as the symbol or as the island of memory, which is Farum Azula. And then the consciousness develops by knowing and recognizing different people, and is able to differentiate himself from other people and from the world. And then from there we develop kind of this primitive ego, and the islands of memories become larger, because they're speaking about themselves in the third person, blah 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 blah. And then as a child separates himself from the rest of the world, starts to recognize itself as I and all this different type of stuff. The island of consciousness or memories becomes continents. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing with the giants. Let's see here. Wait a second. Mikola becoming Elden Lord, like Marika's consort Elden Lord. Isn't that his mom? Yeah. Marika is, I mean, so is Ronnie. Like, everybody who is trying to become Elden Lord is, quote unquote, the direct offspring of Marika. We switched today, that's a good idea. Bigger statue could be Godwin holding his little bro and his sis. We'll go check that one out. Yeah, I agree. I don't know, man, even if it's giant metaphor, marrying your mom is pretty screwed up. Yeah, remember, George R. R. Martin had a hand in this, so. Oh, and that's the very next comment. Let's see here. A very deep game, yes it is. Her thoughts literally and figuratively become incestuous. Thanks, Joshua. I had help on that one. I tied them to his parent, to Marika's parents, but it was really cool to see. I think Mearsroom said that the giant skulls are almost like the parents keeping a watchful eye on their child, and that like I think that's spot on. Hey, Aristo, hell yeah, 12 watching? Come on, let's go. Ronnie does become Elden Lord. Nope, she replaces Marika. Yep, that's a whole different thing. You got it, Aristo. Take care, man. Yeah, there's a lot. There's I'll in this description I'll kind of just give you guys everything because um I think it all starts to tie together. So um yeah. And then so in this the 40 pages that I've gotten so far in this book, um there's one other thing that I'd like to touch on. And it's about the the difference between the flame of chaos being kindling, right, and us becoming that lord of chaos, and using Melina as kindling. Um, so this is in my book. The tree of life was kindled in its own quality by the fire of the Holy Ghost, and its quality burnt in the fire of heavenly joyfulness and an unsearchable light and glory. Dot 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 dot. The tree of the fierce quality, which is the other part in nature, was kindled also and burnt in the fire of God's wrath, in a hellish flame, and the fierce source rose up into eternity. And the prince of darkness with his legions abode in the fierce wrathful quality as in his own kingdom. Um, and I think that like there's 35 other pages that predate what I just said, but I think this gives a really good idea of the difference between using the Holy Ghost, aka Melina, aka the Self, as this sacrificial kindling in a much more godly way, as opposed to what is called the fire of God's wrath. Um, the chaos flame seems to be the difference, and why in the end of that that frenzied flame ending, where you see for the first time the glow-eyed queen, and this it says the prince of darkness with his legions basically will come to his own kingdom. Like that seems to be a one-to-one how you choose to go about this process in a dark, vengeful way, as opposed to a much more sacrificial kind of letting go way, is a serious split in the results of said outcome. Um, because it seems like the goal or the outcome of the chaos ending is that we go back to the one great, which in in a spiritual alchemical sense, the one great and the self and kind of this or unity and wholeness seems to be the goal, right? Like it seems to be what we're trying to do. But there seems to be a huge difference with by the means of which you get there. And then the difference of those means seems to be a huge difference in the results. It's almost like, and I get this sense with Ronnie's ending too, that you're not taking um, the more spiritual awakening journey. It seems to be Anyway, where the heck is Farum Azula? What? What do you mean, where is Farum Azula? Right there. Is that what you're wondering? Oh, like where was Farum Azula? I think right where it's at. Yeah. I think it was always just like what we just read, where it's as a child you have basically an island of memories, and then as you become more and more developed, it it forms into continents. Um, I think Farum Azula was always there. I think it's like ground zero though for the events that take place. Oh, jeez. I mean, it's a game, right? Like, there's. I mean, how do you get the the lands between to look like a fetus? Yeah, um, and I've talked about this before, and I said it in my first lore video, but it's Fair Missoula representing America's childhood and those memories associated with it. We know in psychology, your childhood memories are what they're sprinkled everywhere in your lives, right? Like past trauma, past good memories, all of this kind of shape who we are. And I think why we see that's, you know, the aspects of Fair Missoula spread out everywhere is because it's just that, come to life. So, and again, these are just my idea or how how I'm interpreting it. um, okay, so there's one other thing that I need help with. Um, so my journey or my video that I'm making is about the um, Elden Lords and how they represent the different stages of the Animus. Um, so I think Fair Missoula was always where it's at. I mean, I guess you could say that maybe it was an island like on the sea, and then by hitting by getting hit by a meteor, it got launched up. But I think it was always where it's at. I think the fact that we can see roots and stuff like that is just saying that it's connected. Like it's very much connected to the lands between and the story being told. I get within this metaphor, it's possible that Farum Azula just was, but we need a real reason. Um, a real reason why it's flying in the sky? I doubt it was on any sort of island. Um, I mean, I gotta disagree. Um, I think if I think if you're looking for a like, yeah, I think what happens when like you're looking for a real life meaning behind why Farum Azula got to where it's at, it doesn't really work in games. Um, I mean, if you want to say that it it was part of the landmass and then got hit by a meteorite and then flew to where it's at, like if that satisfies you, I think that that's perfectly fine, right? But if you're looking for a real answer, to me that's just as absurd as it was always there. It's like the the universe. Like people are, what's what's the answer there? Well, was it always there? Is it was it created? Um, I don't think that there's no there's a tornado around it. Yeah, again, I think these are all just visual elements that explain like memories over time crumble, right? Like they fade, and we see that that's how it's brought to life artistically. Um, and I kind of think that the like this game has been out for several years, right? Like and applying like um, applying real world answers to something, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna get us where we are because we've always like. I would say that we're no farther as a community like now than we were, you know, 6 months into the game. It seems like trying to apply like real world understanding to it just doesn't really get us anywhere because that's not how Miyazaki does things. I'm not sure about that interpretation. I only think of time and death when I think of Farum Azula, apart from the statue of the Empyrean, but I can't think of any other connection. Um, what do you mean? Sorry, Joshua. We can't think of any other connection to Marika, or I always thought Farum Azula is a place that Marika created or greater will to hide away destined death. It seems like a monument that's the beginning and the end. The dragons and pre-human god figures because they represent time. Um, Here, I'm just gonna go back to this really quick. Um, so this first stage of childhood is called the anarchaic or chaotic state, right? Where the child is still in an unconscious state, and basically what's taking place here is because the child is operating in this unconscious state, it's trying to see exactly where it. Um, so, according to Jung, very young children are still connected with the collective unconscious, which comprises of archetypes, mythologies, and big dreams of mankind. This he calls it a dreamy mystical realm. So, uh, like to me, that's exactly what Farum Azula represents: is this very mystical realm up until the point where Marika creates an ego, which is that statue, and separates herself from basically her ego and her shadow, which is why Malekith is there, because Malekith was created there. It's when that fracture took place. All right, Jake. Sounds good, man. Yeah, Joshua, and I like it's hard too because like I at this point I like it's very hard for me to see it any other way. Um, so I'm really open to other ideas and like, but to me right now the fact that Jung, one source, is able to kind of give life to this whole story, it seems there's a significance to places. Maybe I've actually never really noticed exactly where they're at. Um, my knee jerk reaction is no. Um, I think it's more of it's just a visual of the fact that it's everywhere is more important than that it's like a few places. Like if it was only a handful of things, then I think the actual locations would be much more important. But it seems to just be sprinkled everywhere. Okay. Um, so as I was saying, we have to go to night for this. I need your guys' help with something. So yeah. So we've discussed how the stages of animus development seem to directly tie into the um, seem to directly tie into the different Elden Lords. So for those that maybe missed it, four stages of animus development. Stage one is a man of mere physical power, and these are just headlines. Stage two is a war hero and a romantic man. Stage three is like a scholar of the world, and then stage four is a Hermes character, a spiritual guide, somebody who connects your unconsciousness with your consciousness, all those different things. So didn't have to really stretch very far to apply those to the Elden Lords. And then there also seems to be churches that represent the importance of the Elden Lords and what stage that they are in for Marika's own personal development. So here I'm at the first Church of Marika, and it's at Mountaintops of the Giants, and it's directly next to a scan of a fetal brain. And what we see in the background is the Forge of the Giants. Um, so this being where it's at, who's this associated with, and all the other elements give us the clues that this is the first stage of the Animus. It's Godfrey because Godfrey's entire task was to defeat the basically all the opposition, but mainly the fire giants. And then Marika is also in this stage of development where she is separating herself from her parents and becoming her own kind of person. Um, what's important? Oh, where they're at? I mean, it might be, dude. Like honestly, if you think that they are, if I was you, I'd go look at them and see if you can make sense of it. Because from what I can get, I'm giving you all the information that I have and what I think. Um, so this first stage, what's in the background is the Forge of the Giants, and then where is it? Oh, there it is. And it's associated with the first Elden Lord, Godfrey, what he is doing. And then the second stage being the war hero, the more romantic man. It reflects Marika being in her adolescent, the second stage of life where she's going through puberty and she's falling in love for the first time, and she's still developing her ego and her consciousness. Oh. Come on. Oh, please, Elise. Whoa. Whoa. Was not expecting you to be here. So the fact that it's filled with blood and, you know, roses, and it's associated with Radigan, makes sense. By the way, there's a solid theory that Farum Azula was actually where we fight Radon before being flung into the sky, but it seems to assume that Farum Azula was at some point on the ground. Interesting. I've never heard that theory. Joshua says, okay, the comet is the inception of the womb. The womb is the lands between. The Forge of the Giants is where the comet impacted the earth with the fire of the gods. I mean, could be. It definitely could be. I associate the comet with, like you were saying earlier, with the birth of consciousness. Because that seems to be where fractures and divisions start. Cool, man. Sounds good, Joshua. Take care, dude. So, in the first stage, in the first church, we see the Forge of the Giants in the background. And here, which I think is really interesting, is we see Mount Gilmere, which is all about, like, blasphemy and taking down the gods and all that kind of stuff. And then third church. And then the third church, what's behind Marika, is the Erd Tree. And then in the fourth church is nothing, and it's pointing out into the sea, which is analogous to her unconsciousness. So the first and third ones make sense to us because it's like it's very much related to the Elden Lord at that stage. Like, the Mountaintops of the Giants and the Forge of the Giants and Godfrey go hand in hand. Us and the Erd Tree go hand in hand. But I'm really struggling with making the connection between Radigan and this blasphemy theme of Mount Gelmir. And the only thing I can come up with is that this is the stage in Marika's life, and we know that Rykard comes from Renala, which I am kind of making the assumption that Renala represents Marika's shadow side, um, at that developmental stage, right? Like, she's kind of the antithesis. They are going to war with one another, and then we know that, according to Jung, if your animus is repressed, it will marry your shadow, and out of that marriage kind of comes this. It's a lot more of a chaotic, negative uh, traits of your psyche, than what would have been the union out of, like, the union with Marika and Radagon. Their children look very different from the union of Renala and Radagon. That's what I'm I'm wondering if this represents, if it's supposed to represent the, oh, where the frick did I go? The crisis that happened in Marika's life, if it's supposed to represent that, and her turning away from, like, the greater will, and starting this process of self-reflection. Like, that's the only thing that I can think of. Yeah, the view from the Rose Church. Yeah. So, like, the view from all the other churches seem to make a lot of sense. Like, there's not a whole lot of mystery to, like, basically the quest that Marika's on at that time, and until we get here. Because, like, if you follow it from just the four churches, like, you have stage one, she separates herself from her parents. Stage two, she is in this second stage where she is further developing her ego, and the only thing I can come up with is, out of that, during this stage as well, is when she has this loss, this significant loss, this tragedy in her life, this crisis of faith, that out of that crisis of faith, something that is born within inside of her is this theme of blasphemy and wanting to kill the gods and devour them. That's the only thing I can think of. And it might just be that. I mean, it could be, like, everything is telling us, right? Like, the what's around the church, what's inside the church, what's in the background of the church are all painting a story of exactly what is happening to Marika at this point in her life. But who knows? The complex mechanism which required advanced mathematical and mechanical understanding to craft, was likely made by a certain genius who learned Golden Order fundamentalism. This quote comes from the description of the pulley bow and the crossbow, both of which are found in Mount Gilmere. Are you saying that this is Rykard, or who are you saying, who's this genius who learned Golden Order fundamentalism? Nicola Radigan in Gold Mask. Huh. No, I mean, I take you at your word. Am I doing this one? I don't even remember which one I'm doing. This guy. No, I bet you're. A certain genius. Like, I think the fact that it says certain genius, it's either got to be Mikkel or Gold Mask. Like, I've never... I don't know. I mean, it could be Radigan. I wonder. Alright, let's go back here. I'm only gonna try and solo him a couple times, and then I'm I'm calling in the troops. Can't do it. Cannot do it. Yeah. Yeah, please do. Okay, not good. What? I already did this. Alright. Apparently I gotta talk to him again. My only one seeing a connection between Rykard and the Living Jars and Godric. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we begin, allow me to paint you the full picture.
So, I was talking about earlier how, like, the story gets told over and over and over again, and just like Godwin representing the ego, and then being killed and starting to slowly decay the Erd tree, right? Marika's consciousness. I think the same thing is being played here with Melina basically giving rot to Radon, and it's slowly killing him, and to the point that we are able to defeat him and then take his great rune and make it part of us again. Like, that seems to be the same story with the playing out with Deathroot and Godwyn in the Erd Tree, trying to make the Erd Tree more manageable, so that way we can, aka the ego, so and consciousness, so we can reassimilate it back into in a healthy way. What level am I? 54? Here goes nothing. If I don't even get close, I'm not. I'm calling people in. I can't be stuck here forever. Mm-mm. Ah. Woo. Oh. Oh, you can see the stars now in the second phase. Oh, God. Come on. Ooh. Come on. Fire those freaking things. There we go. Oh. Sorry, dude. How do I miss? He's gigantic. Oh, one shot. Damn it. That was actually not bad. Not bad. Alright, one more time. I'll give it one more shot.
Why would it be Mikola who made them, though?
I'm only saying that because of the word genius. I feel like that's only been applied to, or at least like somebody being referenced as really smart has only been applied to. Oh, this is such bullshit. Oh, I hate that. Has only been applied to, I think, Mikola and Gold Mask, which I could be wrong, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the whole Mount Gelner thing. Yeah. Whoa! I was not paying attention. Frick. Oh. Jeez. What the frick? Oh! You bastard. Man. Alright. I'm summoning people in. Whatever. I'm not even getting close. What? Wow. Pay attention, dude. Oh. I'm getting broken. I'm just playing terribly. Oh, God. Alright, well. I'm trying to progress the story so we can continue with the lore, but I'm not good enough. Oh great, we got patches. Oh. Do something, Blythe. Come on. No! Ah, you suck. Oh. Sorry, guys. This is not my finest hour here. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Do Patches, does he even fight? Or does he just like straight up just bounce? It's actually pretty funny if he just leaves. God damn it. There we go. Banging upside the head. Oh. What? That's not what I wanted to do. No, 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 no. Don't come to me. Oh boy. Oh, there. he goes. Oh, you. I thought I had him for sure. He does. He just returns to his world. That is really cool. Can't blame him. Wow. Man, maybe I'm just not ready for this. I'm getting just murdered.
All right.
Interesting. So we think Nicola went to Mount Gelmir? I should just move on. I'm not ready for this.
Furthermore, we also know the story of the jar cannon. It was brought to the assault on Mount Gelmir, but no one knew how to use it.
Interesting. So it was used to fight against Mount Gelmir. Is that what you're saying? Because then it would make sense then that Mikola would do that.
If we know the pulley bow and crossbow are there too, it creates a possible conclusion Mikola created weapons to be used in the shattering?
In the war? Yeah. Oh. That's really cool. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like Mikola, like trying to be the end result, but if another side wins, like blasphemy or anything like that, then that's a really cool idea. Huh. That's a cool theory, Glad. That's I wonder if anybody else has thought of that. Unsightly catacombs.
Dude, it gets better. The Craftsman's Shack, where you find the pulley crossbow, has a Mikla Lily in it. Wow, cool.
Nice. Come on, big dog. Come on. No? Okay. Dude, this sword is so beastly. Does so much damage. Sheesh.
How do I get up there?
Winged misbegotten ashes. Let's see what that says. Spirit with the aspects of wings, which takes flight to loose arrows from its bow. The misbegotten are held to be punishment for making contact with the crucible, and from birth they are treated as slaves or worse. Oh. Oh, good God, Jacob. Oh, boy. Like that? Oh. Oh, I can. Hey. I'm playing without audio because I can't afford. I just spent all my money on um, the capture card and stuff. So until those funds recoup, I'm probably gonna suck because I can't hear anything. And yeah, that's an excuse. Yep, that's an excuse. All right. God bless it. I need health bad. Oh my god. Oh my god.
No.
I can't hear anything. Nope. I didn't realize that when I was buying that capture card that audio would no longer be a thing for me, but I will endure. Don't die. Okay. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Oh boy. This is a much harder boss fight than I remember. Oh. What? Mm-hmm. Okay, bitch. Just you and me. Oh! We did it. We did it. Round of applause, everybody. That was pretty good. Trisha was known as a healer who dedicated her efforts to treating misbegotten omen and all those seen as impure. When her efforts failed, she was their companions as they died, watching over them to ensure they could pass peacefully free of pain. Tale akin to the origins of the deathbed companions. How are we doing out there? Think we can get to 15 likes? Anybody? Think we can do it? Whoop. I mean, at the very least, with Galad's new amazing discovery in theory, that alone should get us to 15 likes. I think, but you know. You guys do you. Is that why we find an omen killer in the perfumer's? I was just thinking about that. I wonder if they're like coming after her. Jesus Christ. You guys are bastards. This is ridiculous. Read that in a second. Okay, am I free? Am I safe? This is the only bad part about not being able to hear, honestly. Like, in a fight, you can kind of sense it, but when I'm just standing here and I don't want to get killed, I have no idea if something is sneaking up on me or... I think I'm good. Alright. Let's see what it says about the Omen Killer. Robe worn by Omen Killers, butchers of twisted conscience. Its thick apron is worn in remembrance of Rollo, the progenitor of their Omen Killers, and a perfumer of antiquity. Huh. So, were perfumers like tasked with how to get rid of like the omen curse and misbegotten? Like, is that... I kind of forget their... Maybe we'll learn more here. Yeah. Yeah, Rollo, who we find in the Albaneric village, says that they drank a special physics so that way basically they wouldn't have a conscience, so killing things would not be, like, it wouldn't stop them, which is really fucked up. Right, don't we have... Maybe not. Alright, let's read what... a record of crafting techniques left by a military perfumer contains martial techniques beyond the repertoire of an ordinary physician, spark, and uplifting. And then we also got glass bottles used by perfumers. The part of perfuming was once jealously guarded in the capital, but after the perfumers were drafted in the service during the Shattering, the art became widely practiced throughout the lands between. The Immortality Cocktail. Is that which one is that?
Oh, he's long dead.
Gotcha. And I think perfumers are supposed to immorality. Gotcha. Yep. Sorry, I read that wrong. Perfumer's talisman. There are gardens known only to perfumers. Whether hidden on the fringes of the highlands or obscured by shadows inside caves, the flowers blossom in secret, waiting to impart their scent. Interesting. Huh. He got drunk. Yeah, exactly. He got drunk. Started killing people, and he's been drinking ever since. That's how he lives with himself. Can't blame him, really. But, and I think perfumers are supposed to be the game's version of alchemist. I think I read about like how alchemy started, and it is very similar to how the perfumer started.
Statue depicts a flower that preys on humans, posed in prayer. Miranda, maiden of the flower crucible, is said to have been the very first of this breed. Right.
Ew. Off the top rope, big dog. Oop.
This, I wonder what degree of cut content will make it to the DLC.
Could be. Especially if they knew from the beginning, which I'm sure FromSoft does at this point, that they were going to have at least one DLC. It would make sense that they cut certain things just to be able to bring them there. Whoa! Oh! Okay. Easy. Whoa. Easy. Man. This game is so pretty. I wonder why all these carriages are here. Abandoned coffin.
Yeah, Altus.
Yep. Getting closer to like in between Gelmir and the capital. Mask in the image of a wizened sage. Customary dress among lords in a smaller nation increases faith. Such a mask illustrates the qualities of an ideal lord, chiefly wise and possessing a certain defanged geniality. One of the center of society often finds these qualities most expedient. Is this luxurious ward worn by lords in a smaller nation? Its fine blue mantle serves to prove its wearer's status. Are these all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are these like all the all the people from the Shaded Castle? Yeah, this is where Lansax also comes and just
Destroys everything.
But I mean, we fight other dragons that, and there's no coffins like you see here. Just a big old fat size 12 to the face. I'm trying to think of why else they would have the Shaded Castle stuff on that coffin. Yeah, it might have been an ambush against them. Maybe we'll try and make it to the Shaded Castle here. Oh. Yeah. Our Elmer just slaughtered all of them on his way up here. Hello.
I've been waiting for you. I knew you had the stuff of champions. I hereby invite you to the Volcano Manor. Take my hand and have audience with my mistress.
Do I have to right now?
Give me your hand. I will pray. But you follow the same path as Lady Tanith.
I only fought merchants before this. Huh. Probably shouldn't bring a big ass sword. I'm meeting a queen here. He was, after all, the bell-bearing hunter. What a small-time ruler mean to him? Yeah.
Brave Tarnished. Welcome to the Volcano Manor. I am Tanith, the proprietress of this house. Raya spoke well of you. A warrior of promise, I believe she said. Perhaps you are prepared to make a commitment. Will you join us here at the Volcano Manor and resist the tide? Why accept the burden of their grace, or be fooled by the dogmatic ramblings of the Fingers? Rise with us against the Erd Tree. Interesting. Your decision is most welcome. Now you belong to the Volcano Manor family. The drawing room lies down the hall. Make yourself comfortable, but be sure to earn your keep. The The drawing room is... Use the key I handed you.
This doesn't really give us anything. Like, do we know for sure that the Erd tree is burning in this picture? Because everything just has such a red glow to it. An heirloom to the Lord of Volcano Manor, bequeathed to the tarnished who have become family. It's covered in snake scales. What the hell are you doing here?
It's you, is it? Well, nice to see you again.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been invited as well, I see. Then we're comrades in arms henceforth. You watch my back, and I'll watch yours. Yes?
I don't think Rykard would care to burn the Erd tree per se, so long as he defies it. Yeah.
I can tell. You're wondering about Lanya.
I am.
You see, after much internal debate, I've come to realize revenge is not the answer. According to Lady Tanith, I've got the stuff of champions. And champions,
What do you think they do here, dude?
as it is, are oft forced to walk a tainted path. It hit me like a bolt from the blue that my former thoughts were simple naivety. Of course, my heart weeps for Lanya. That unfortunate incident was a cruel twist of fate indeed. But succumbing to the pain and sadness caused won't make me a champion, will it? Lanya knows this, I'm certain. Fate has laid hard roads for us both, but such is true of any road trod by champions.
So I think this is exactly why Bernal is here. It's your reaction to crisis, and where it, and kind of where you end up. And we see it with Fike, and we see it with Bernal, and we see it with him, and I mean it's a common theme for sure.
I always resented these hands, their pale complexion, far cry from any warriors, the shame of House Hoslo, but that won't be the case for long. They'll be darkened by grit once I've set out on the path of champions. The tale of House Hoslo is told in blood, after all.
Whatever you say, dude. Whatever you say. Hello.
Hello again, brave Tarnished. As a scout, I am pleased to see you again here at the Volcano Manor under Lady
You took me here.
Tanith's guidance. May you tread the path of valor. Brave Tarnished under Lady Tanith's.
You. What in heaven's name are you
Um, why is his picture here? Does anybody know? I mean, outside of them being siblings. Okay. I can go get that real quick. Patches? Oh, God, those things are terrifying. Go away. Lord Rykard. If this putrid field of death is what your blasphemy would bring, then I can no longer abide. No one can. Mount Gilmere, which houses the Volcano Manor at its summit, is characterized by sheer cliffs and ominous skies. These qualities only became more pronounced after the shattering. It almost looks like a wound. Alright, where are we going now? This is probably because the battle for Mount Gilmere was the bloodiest battle in the Shattering. Yeah. I don't really know the history of Mount Gilmere very well. What, why was it so... The bloodiest battle in the Shattering?
once home to magma sorceries or something.
Yeah, it's like hexes and stuff.
The reason... Because Rykard went rogue, I'm guessing.
Well, we also know, because of the Blasphemous Claw, that, like, Ronnie and Rykard seem to be in cahoots. Yeah. Margit trying to keep the current order. If Rykard was... Really, if Rykard and Ronnie together were trying to go against that, that makes sense. Ooh. Where'd you guys come from? Golden sunflower. Golden sunflower that grows facing the Erd tree. At the foot of the Erd tree, they retain their color along with a powerful holy essence. Do we think that the regular enemies here can see this guy? Because you'd think, like, you know, during the day, and then all of a sudden this guy pops up, you'd be like, a little. And I think out of the people here, I would not be fighting me.
They can see him for sure.
How do you know? Bad timing. I'm just saying because, like, he comes only at night. And, like, that seems to be the time where, like, the unconscious and consciousness are, like, slipping into one another. And, like, the Golden Order is all about fighting death. And, like, this is what this guy does. It's like death birds too. Like, you think they would fight a death bird?
They're not being hidden by anything.
What's not being hidden by anything? Well, they're hidden by, I mean, they only come out at night. Just like the bell-bearing hunters. Altus Plateau, where the Erdtree's base can be found, contains the royal capital of Lindell to the east and Mount Gilmer to the west. Scars from the shattering remain apparent today.
What about death birds then?
Like, we know that Morgoth says, fear the night. And at night, there are very strange things that occur only at night. And to me, the things that are occurring are the things that are, like, locked away to kind of the status quo. Like, they're not part of the mainstream way of life. Which is why I think, and like, at night, what we do is we sleep, and sleeping is kind of the gateway into the unconsciousness. So that's why it seems that, like, these rare occurrences, or these strange occurrences that happen at night is when the bridge between those two places seems to be connected.
Morgoth himself was locked away, isn't he?
Morgoth? Mm-mm. He's at the capital. See what this says. Okay, tree and beast. The surcoat depicts the distant Erdtree and the beast regent, emblem of the golden lineage. Both are symbols of glory, now past. Surcoat bears a majestic likeness to the Erdtree. Its golden backing is an honor bestowed of no other soldiers.
But he was.
Yeah, both Moog and Morgoth were, like, locked away. Yeah. He really went down.
Oh, gee. You might. You here as a customer.
Sure. Emblazoned with an old interleaving tree. The tree insignia emblazoned on the front depicts the Erd tree and is designed. Oh, and is a design beloved throughout the lands between.
Yeah.
Isn't this the symbol of the Halig tree? Right? I'm pretty sure.
I'm afraid I've very little to offer.
Like if you check like the Halig tree like surcoat. Come on, bloodstains.
Huh.
I mean, it makes sense because it's kind of like wispy and stuff too. I'm surprised about an old tree because the Halig tree seems fairly new, at least in like the grand scheme of things. And this is the same bridge that's at Rio Lucaria. I guess that makes sense. It's connected.
By the way, can you look at the... Oh. Oh.
Okay, yeah, I can. Can you see that?
It's the same... it's the same as the other bridge. Yeah. I think it's the same kind of
idea as like the sword that we were talking about at the beginning of the stream that goes through all the different transformative stages that we go through, like all the different trials and tribulations. I think that the four is supposed to represent unity and balance and the self, and the fact that it's along basically like the path that we take and the different trials and tribulations that we experience. I think that's probably what it. Oh, you weren't here for it. Okay, I'll go back super quick. The one that's on the thumbnail of this. So like the when you get to the Erd tree, the motif that's on it. Let's see. Really? Day. That so like the hilt of the sword, and then it goes up through all the different transformations that the Erd tree / our psyche takes. Hopefully you can see that it's the stream quality for some reason is just terrible. Yeah. I don't know why it's. You can kind of make it out there. But in this book that I'm reading, which if you go back and just listen to the first 20 or 30 minutes of it, it's about. It's called The Anatomy of the Psyche, Alchemical Symbolism, and Psychotherapy, and it's about Carl Jung's work. And it says that the flaming sword symbolizes the trials with which God overwhelms man, that he may be restored to the way of goodness. And it seems, and it's definitely Melena's rune, and she's kind of she's the one that's with us through all these different trials and tribulations, and she kind of sacrifices herself and forges all of these things for us to move on, and all these different things. So I think that's what it's. I think that's what the tiles are supposed to mean. Now, what's maybe worth looking at is to see if it's on like all the tiles everywhere, or if it's just like main. Yeah, it's not there. What else? Here. Oh, really? Oh, the book is called Anatomy of the Psyche, Alchemical Symbolism, and Psychotherapy by a guy named Edward Edinger. He's a Jungian scholar. other bridges do we got? Down this. No. There's no tiles there. Trying to see, like, this branches off. I wonder if it's any of this stuff. Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Jacket. Huh. So it pretty much covers the whole map except for, looks like it goes a little bit into the mountaintops of the giants. I wonder what the what they say in Reddit about it. All right, I think I'm gonna end it there for today. A lot of good stuff talked about today. Actually, it was a really good stream. Next time, we'll continue exploring. We'll probably go to Mount Gelmir next time, honestly, and then the capital. All roads lead to Rome thing. Yeah, Galad, if you missed the first little bit, it's definitely worth checking out. It's kind of just a talking about, because I've been editing my video and all that kind of stuff, and I've been reading a lot, and things are just kind of starting to jump out to me that haven't before. So definitely go check that out. And then, as always, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully I'll be done with my video here in the next week or so. Honestly, there's things I need to change on there because the way I thought that all of the churches were facing towards the Erd Tree except for the last one, but they all seem to be facing in the direction of, like, Marika's current kind of mindset. So need to make a couple edits and stuff like that, but yeah, be on the lookout for that. And anyways, much love, appreciate y'all, and I will